and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. Then the Lord put out his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, now I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and over kingdoms, to pluck up and to pull down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant.
Good morning. So last Sunday, following service and Rob's outstanding sermon presentation, our own, no, it's not working. Good morning. So last Sunday, following service and Rob's outstanding sermon presentation, our own John Bells came up to me and commented, hey, I noticed you're preaching next week. And that's when panic set in. Nope, not working? It was.
Better? Yeah. I'm just going to hold it because when it moves. Okay. Well, John Bell said that, and I panicked. And then he had something along the line of, you'll do fine. You do that all the time in your day job. A small note of encouragement. Small for him, but big for me. And remarkably on point for our message today. And more about that later. So I'd like to tell you that our message today is based on refreshing myself on the book of Jeremiah. But in truth, it really was Introduction 101 for me. You see, by background, I was raised Catholic. And the rap for Catholics is that on Sundays at Mass, we're given book reports by the priest. Not really encouraged to read or dig into the Bible. Not discouraged, but not encouraged. Well, I went to catechism and Mass, and I was an altar boy light, because the Second Vatican Council had come in, and so when I had to learn the prayers, I had to learn them in English instead of Latin like my brothers. But nonetheless, I went to Mass, I served at weddings, and at funerals. So my studying until recent years has been pretty light, L-I-T. So when I was asked to share a message, I said yes. And I am humbled to be here. So here we go. Jeremiah. Now, one of the first sources I went to is a website called Textbook. And it's a resource I've used in the past that provides lectionary readings for the week along with resources, such as articles, sermons, related readings, videos. And the lectionary is organized listing the readings of the Bible over a 3-year period, so that eventually you can work all the way through. And when I looked at the readings for today, I selected today's reading. Now, I can't resist to let you know that my first impulse was, having been raised in the 60s and the 70s, to remind you that Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Thanks to Three Dogs Night, Joy to the World. But moving on to study today's reading, I found that the book by some scholars to be the most complex. Thank you, Terry. And the longest book. Thank you, Terry. Fortunately, our reading today is only a brief part of that. Today's reading comes from the very introduction to the book and is very much in the tradition of the prophetic books, starting with similar exchanges of God speaking to the prophet, much as the books of the other major prophets, Isaiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Baruch. Now, Baruch, interestingly, was the faithful secretary to Jeremiah, and according to many sources, wrote down the words that Jeremiah spoke as he dictated them. But the book of Baruch is not included in the Protestant Bible. And I've always wondered how books inspired, presumably by God, can be voted out of the Bible. But I digress. So William Holiday, who's a biblical historian, in his book, Jeremiah, Spokesman Out of Time, notes that there's much about Jeremiah that attracts us to to him. He states, alone of the prophets of the Old Testament, Jeremiah saw his relationship with God as one to be grappled with, more than just simply an obligation to be taken for granted. And I think many of us struggle from time to time on just how God is relevant in our lives. Perhaps it's the human condition to wonder, ponder, or perhaps it's a selfish human nature. Me. Well, what about my relationship with God? Does it matter? Is it relevant? How does God fit into the 21st century in these challenging times? So the context of the book of Jeremiah may be helpful to answer these questions. Jeremiah came of age at a time of great political upheaval and religious reform, about 630 BCE. Now, at the conclusion of the last powerful Assyrian king, I'll call him King A, because that's short for Ashurbanipal, King A, and later during the reign of King Josiah in Judah. And they were troubling times. Many cities have fallen, and religious reform was started again, reaffirming the covenant of Moses and centralized worship of Yahweh God in Jerusalem. Now, time's a bit foggy here, but sometime placing his teachings in the mid part of the 7th century BCE, as William Holiday puts it, Assyria's power was shrinking, and the people sensed it might be time. New policies might be possible. Sound familiar? That makes this book timely. Timely for our selfish selves. New changes are possible. So part of my study led me to a 1998 TV movie. It's entitled Jeremiah, with Oliver Reed and Patrick Dempsey. Yes, Grey's Anatomy, Mick Dreamy once played Jeremiah. And I have a copy here, and there'll be a sign-up sheet in the back. There's no sign sheet. Now, early in the film, it reflects the exchange in our reading today, with a twist that I found interesting. The young Jeremiah, not Patrick Dempsey, encounters God, interestingly depicted as a child of his own age. And I found that a fascinating artistic choice. The very ways we depict God that we see, that we experience, or that we need. Even in this TV movie, and as in our reading today, message is clear. You shall go to all I send you to, and you shall speak whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you. However, Jeremiah's hesitation is real, much as our hesitation may be real, when we're called on to do things from time to time. What Holiday referred to as being a reluctant prophet. Jeremiah was commissioned, ordained, or as in the Hebrew, the word is chosen. And despite resistance and reluctance, he goes on to assume a major role in a major way. But why are we told about this initial exchange? It's sometimes referred to as credentialing, establishing verifiable credentials for the speaker and authority for them to speak. Many prophets begin their teachings this way. For example, in Ezekiel, in the 2nd chapter, God speaks. To Hosea, in the 2nd verse of the 1st chapter. Joel is spoken to by God in the 1st sentence, and so on. Until today, the UCC continues to believe and teach us God is still speaking. As hesitant as we might be, as reluctant as our disposition might be, God is speaking to us, and God is with us. The prophets and the priests, small p, and each of us. Now, for many years, I've considered the statement, God speaking to me, to us. And although today's Jeremiah and the prophet consideration is kind of new to me, I have pondered God speaking to me before. And I've told people from time to time that God does not speak to me in whole sentences. It's more of a dummy slap. I may not always know what God is saying, but I'm pretty sure when I'm off track, out of sync, or stepping away. And I do believe, and I think our passage from Jeremiah reminds us, for all of us, that God is with us. We are all commissioned, called, deputized, marshaled, a posse for God. And here's how I believe we should know, because I believe we've all experienced it. So here's my takeaway lesson. I'm sure there's more to be said, but more book reviews to be given, reported or sourced, but I'm going to start to wrap up. As for me and my faith, I like to say, well, I'm a pedestrian. I like to hear a good message, and I like to figure out how it applies to my everyday life. So I think maybe this is the way I'll take away from this, or maybe the way I need to take this away. Here is what I know. First, God told Jeremiah, I am with you. And I believe through this reading, God is telling us, you and me, I am with you. All of us sinners sitting in this sanctuary, just trying to do better. And after all, aren't we with God? Isn't God with us? Like it or not? Aren't we in some kind of relationship with God? Even if it is a struggle, or a tussle, or currently we're not on speaking terms. Still, we are in a relationship. Or maybe it's fine, just right, really solid. All is well. Well, for good or for bad, or for better or for ill, God is with us. And here's why I think I know it. Just like John Belt's kind encouragement to me last Sunday, you'll be fine. or the powerful, sustained efforts like Bishop Paul Quinn, who, as a bishop in the AME Methodist Church, it's in your handout this week, a circuit riding pastor and preacher, spreading the word to black and white Methodists, showing his faith, walking with God, the same God who walks with us today. Or perhaps, as many of you already do every day, you walk boldly into our world. Each time we say what we didn't know we could say, share wisdom beyond our awareness, words of comfort or caring, encouragement or patience, kiss a bruised knee, shepherd a neighbor to chemo. When we speak on behalf of those who cannot, stand up against gun violence, or knit, or sing. When we dry the tears, extend a vote, coach a team, or mentor a struggling student. When we visit those who need it and find it was just the right time. When we help the single parent with the extra change to cover the grocery bill at the checkout, so the orange juice or the diapers don't have to go back. I told you a couple weeks ago I cry all the time. I'm crying again. Or like I observed in my day job, when a prisoner raises his voice to a guard, risking everything, insisting you have to help him. You have to show him where to go. He can't see. And he was profoundly visually impaired. When a prisoner can do that, then I am reminded God is with us. And when in troubling times, times that seem overwhelming, when you're feeling low, tired, and worn out, when you cannot speak, I won't know what to say, and the words come to you anyway, caring, considerate action springs forth. Those are times when I know, when we all should know, God is with us. Yes, God was with Jeremiah, and God is with us all. So I'm asking you all to please stand, if you're able, and join hands. That feels good, huh? Okay. I talk with my hands, so now I'm and remind ourselves that God is with us and we are with one another. God is with us as we struggle in this world. God is with us. Join with me. God is with us.
God is with us.
God is with us.
God is